Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Josephine and on this channel we talk about fragrances. Today's video is part of a series that I'm running on my channel called Best in Niche, and today I'm talking about Tom Ford. Now Tom Ford, there's a bit of a mixed feeling as to whether it's a designer or niche brand, but because today I'm talking about the private blend perfumes from Tom Ford, I decided to call this Best of Niche. So the private blend from Tom Ford is the higher end fragrances from Tom Ford, and they're actually priced in line with niche fragrances, so they're more expensive, they're fantastic quality, and the scents are really unique as well. Today I will be sharing with you my top 5 favorite Tom Ford private blends. So if you're interested in knowing what these are, then please keep watching. All right, so with these videos, I always like to give you a little bit of background into the general feel for what these scents are all about. I find that the common thread amongst all Tom Ford fragrances is that they are bold, daring, opulent, and very provocative as well. So these fragrances are big confidence boosters. They will turn heads and you will not get unnoticed if you wear these fragrances. And I find in terms of fragrances themselves, they're very innovative, that challenge sort of the status quo of the fragrance industry. So I think these are definitely worth checking out if you're looking for something that is elevated, high quality, and that smells different. So in general, these fragrances have a very magnetic and alluring feel about them. They're quite polarizing, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like I said, this is the type of fragrance brand that will get you noticed if you wear one of their fragrances. The one thing that I will say particularly about the private blend is that the newer releases, frankly, are a little bit disappointing. The ones I'm thinking about are Lost Cherry and the recent one, Rose Prick. I find that these perfumes don't have the same wowness factor as some of the earlier releases. I also wanted to point out that in general, Tom Ford fragrances are very powerful. They have an incredible projection for the most part. They're super strong. People will smell you everywhere you go, and they're totally worth the investment in my opinion. Now, little story time. Actually, one of the Tom Ford private blends I'll be talking to you about today is the first expensive fragrance purchase I've ever made many years ago, and that is what got me into niche. So I have a special sort of connection with Tom Ford fragrances, and yeah, I think they're just wonderful. So let's begin with the perfume that got me into niche and that pretty much got me into this fragrance obsession. It is Jasmin Rouge. Now, Jasmin Rouge is a stunning floral, spicy jasmine fragrance. I find that this fragrance is very feminine, but I hear that some men also wear it. And so this fragrance is very opulent, intoxicating, and extremely sexy. The jasmine in this perfume is done in a beautiful, creamy, and opulent way, but it doesn't touch upon the animalistic side of jasmine, that dirty side of jasmine that you can get from Jasmine Absolute when you smell it in raw form. It smells like, as I said, clean but very creamy, and it is complemented with ylang ylang, which brings a solar and fruity twist to this perfume. This fragrance also has some spices. There's ginger and cardamom, and it's warmed by ambery notes. Overall, this fragrance is super sexy, and it is one that you want to wear if you are getting dressed up, wearing a really nice pair of heels and a nice dress. So this is for a woman who is looking for a new nighttime fragrance and who wants to feel very luxurious, put together, and very sexy. The second fragrance, and by the way, this is not in any particular order, it is Oud Wood. This perfume is one of the classiest woody fragrances I've smelt on a man. This perfume is phenomenal. It is a very easygoing, easy to wear oud fragrance. And I think when you look at the private blend range from Tom Ford for men, I think Oud Wood is probably one of the easier fragrances to get into Tom Ford. So if you're a first buyer into the Tom Ford private blend range, then I think Oud Wood is a really great one to go for because you will get a lot of use out of it. It's extremely versatile and it smells really good, but also very unique. So the oud in this perfume isn't a heavy oud. It is done in a very light and uplifted way. It is actually very smooth and clean and elegant. And there's also sandalwood and vetiver, and combined with the oud is a cocktail of sophistication. It is just really a refined and tasteful perfume. This is a fragrance definitely for a man who is looking for a scent for more formal settings. Perhaps, you know, if you have an event to go to, or even if you're going on a date, because women love this fragrance. And I actually included it in my Women Killer video, which I'll link down below if you're interested in that. Now, one thing to note with this fragrance is that it isn't massively projecting, so it's not going to leave a huge scent trail compared to, say, Jasmin Rouge, but it will last on your skin for a really long time. So it will last over 8 hours on your skin, which I find is really good for a fragrance. So if you're looking for a formal perfume, then definitely check out Oud Wood. The third perfume is probably your ultimate summer fragrance. It is Soleil Bloom. This is probably one of the most luxurious beach-inspired fragrances. So this perfume has a very prominent coconut note that is super creamy, rich and indulgent, but it's done in a very refreshed way. So it's lifted with bergamot and pink pepper so that it doesn't feel too overwhelming, too sticky or too cloying. It is done in a very balanced way. And the florals in this perfume are just phenomenal. So you have ylang ylang and white florals in the heart that are super velvety and fruity, and they will just take you immediately to the beach. And I'm not talking about any beach here. Like, this fragrance will take you to a beach with white sand, like fine white sand and turquoise waters. This is a super evocative fragrance, and one that, you know, if you spray it, you'll just immediately, your senses will just go on holiday. So if you need a little mini holiday break, spray this fragrance and it will take you there. So it is wonderful, and also you get a little bit of a sort of an almondy pistachio creaminess in the background that just enhances a bit that addictive touch of this perfume. So if you are a fan of coconut balmy fragrances for the summertime, definitely check out Soleil Bloom. And the next fragrance is Tuscan Leather. In my opinion, this is one of the best, if not the best, leather fragrances by Tom Ford. Tuscan Leather is really elegant and smooth, and it has that addictive sweetness with a fruity raspberry note. So I'm a huge fan of mixing fruits, especially berries, with leather. I find that it just complements the leather very well, adds a really interesting twist, and generally speaking, softens the leather and rounds it along the edges so it doesn't feel too cloying or too heavy. And that is exactly what I get with Tuscan Leather in Tom Ford. And I think that the leather as well in here is done in a very lifted way. It's more like suede leather. It's not a heavy, dark leather. It's definitely more on the lighter side. And as a woman who doesn't typically like leather notes, Tuscan Leather is so wonderful. There's also a bit of a sexy edge with this fragrance. There's additional ingredients of amber, saffron, black pepper, and tobacco, which give it a bit of an oriental twist, and also a light undertone of a cigarette vibe, but it's done in a very beautiful way. This is a fantastically blended fragrance. So if you are looking for a leather signature scent, more for the autumn and winter time, then you should check out Tuscan Leather. And the last fragrance is Fabulous. So this perfume made a lot of noise due to its name, and I think Tom Ford had to kind of even bar out the first part of the name because it was seen as offensive. We are not going to be offensive today. We're just going to call it Fabulous. So Fabulous is a very intriguing perfume in the private blend. It's very difficult to decipher in terms of notes, in terms of impression. It's a very unusual perfume. So how can I describe it to you? The opening is quite surprising because you get this really unusual mix of ingredients. You have this like almondy tonka bean thing going on that is mixed with sort of a lavender aromatic freshness. So it's quite a contrasting opening. And then as it develops, you get a very rich, buttery iris feel that is mixed with cashmeran and leather. Now, some people say that the leather in this fragrance is very prominent. I personally can't smell it. I find that the leather is really, really toned down in this perfume, but it's very odd. So it's a very strange fragrance, but it smells very very good. And it's a perfume that you kind of want to smell over and over again. And if you're someone who doesn't like leather, I don't think this perfume will bother you at all. Again, this is a very unusual perfume. So how would you wear this fragrance, you may ask? Well, that is a very good question. This is a fragrance that for sure has more of an elevated feel. You would probably wear this on a special occasion. This is not an everyday type of fragrance. You could probably wear it also throughout the year, but probably leaning towards colder months, more appropriate for that. It's not necessarily the easiest one to work with, but it is for sure more of an intriguing scent from the Private Blends collection. And in terms of whether it's unisex, feminine, or masculine, I would say it's unisex, leaning more towards the feminine side. So hopefully this helps give you a better impression of what this fragrance is like. But as a summary, it is almondy, it is aromatic, sexy, opulent, and very unique. So that was my little take on Tom Ford fragrances. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what Tom Ford fragrances, Private Blend fragrances you enjoy wearing. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!